Okay, friends, this is what we're going to do tonight. We're going to be talking about the first ever Copper Kings 100 coming up in June 2025. First ever in quotes because we've done it as a fat ass the last 2 years. You probably know who I am. My name is Wes Plate. I'm an ultra runner and I'm the creator of this new event that we're calling the Copper Kings 100. And for the next 45 minutes to an hour-ish, we'll be talking in detail about each section of the course. We've got some photos and videos to show you, together with a detailed course map, and we're just going to show you the whole thing and get you excited about it. I say we because I'm joined by my good friend Stephanie Leake, an ultra runner from Texas. I'll bring her on here, who ran the Copper Kings 100 Fat Ass in June 2024. Stephanie, can you hear me? Can I hear you? Hello, welcome.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Oh, look at us. We're both wearing our Copper Kings 100
I like the
sweatshirts.
yellow.
It looks really good. What's new with you since we've last seen each other?
So I have not ran any more mountains. I do want to say that this was my first mountain race, so I want to clarify that my perspective, when I say, my perspective, it's coming from a flatlander in Texas. So, but I would love to share, I'm excited to share my experience. So
That's great.
glad to
Yeah, well,
be
I know
here.
you had a good time, and I put a link on the website to your podcast because you had a great recap after the run in June, and so I enjoyed listening to it, and it sounded like you had a great time. So that was
Oh
really
my
cool.
goodness, I did.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, all right, well, let's go ahead and get into the details of this whole thing. Oh, by the way, so if you have questions, please do feel free to post them into the comments. And then at the end, we will try to get to any questions if we don't address them through the course of the thing. All right, so let's first get into the details of this whole thing. And you're probably asking yourself, where is Butte, Montana? And I want to show that to you on this thing. All right, so I'm just going to do a little interactive mapping because in case you don't know where Montana is, it is this state here in the upper Midwest or upper West of the United States. You can't really, I don't know if you can see the dotted lines. I tried to find a map that had some really great state borders, but it's kind of hard to find those online these days. But Butte is in southwest Montana. It's right here. It's south of Helena, the capital of Montana, and it's west of Bozeman, which is a really well-known running mecca, and it is southeast of Missoula. So that's where Butte, Montana is. It's a great place, and we're excited to be telling you all about it. Let me check my notes. And I want to tell you a little bit of the brief history of or a little bit more about Butte and talk about the brief history of our event. All right, to the map. So Butte really became famous because of mining, which is and a nod to our event is the name Copper Kings, the head frame of the mining equipment in our logo, which is very similar to what you see in this old photo. There was a lot of mining back in the day, and Butte became known as the richest hill on earth because of its vast quantities of copper that made the mine owners extremely rich. And there was a great book called The War of the Copper Kings, which I loved reading, that goes into the history of the three biggest mine owners. And just in case you're a reader and you think this sounds interesting to you, this QR code that I have on screen will take you to Amazon where you can purchase this book, and I will make a few cents off that purchase. So the Copper Kings were the three biggest mine owners back in the 1880s. There's a number of companies in town, and the local college mascot is called the Copper Kings. And so we have adopted that name for our race as a nod to the history of Butte's mining. Let's talk about the history of the event. The very brief history of this started in 2021 when I spent many hours in Caltopo and looking at mapping all sorts of things, collecting GPX files from my own runs and cycling and other people's runs, trying to find a cool route that I could use to celebrate my family's history in this area because my parents were both born here. My grandparents lived here. I have cousins and aunts, a lot of family history here. And I wanted to celebrate my family through a run. And in 2023, I had a loop I was ready to try out, so I invited some friends to join me. The night before, we had a big group dinner, and there was a total of 6 of us, me and 5 other runners. So early the next morning, we start off. We had a really great time exploring the route that nobody had ever done before. And in the end, everybody finished, and it was really satisfying to create this route and make it real by running it and sharing it with these other people. It was a really fun time. We learned a lot through doing this. And one of the things we learned was that the route was too long. It was about 106 miles, so we needed to shorten it. We also learned that we wanted to reverse the directions. So we did it clockwise in 2023. And we learned from that we should instead do it counterclockwise and head south out of town first. So in 2024, I decided I was just going to be the organizer, and I invited 10 friends to come run this event. And we had a total of 7 finishers. We had our first DNFs. The first year, everybody finished. And then the second year, 3 people didn't. And we had 7 people who did. And one thing that was pretty cool about it was that every woman finished in both years. And the second year, only half of the men finished. So we have a historical finish rate of about 66% for the men and a historical finish rate of 100% for the women.
I love it.
And I look forward to continuing that. Let's see. Do I want to go forward yet? So there. That is where we have been with the history so far, and so we can now get into the course. The course in 2025 is going to be very, very, very similar to the course in 2024. There's one tiny little change that we're making, but for the most part, it's the same. But before we talk about the course, I do want to talk about aid stations, because in 2023 and in 2024, we basically didn't have aid stations. We had one that we offered at a place where the crew couldn't get to, but because we ran it as a fat ass those first 2 years, we required the runners basically to be self-sufficient, and we asked them all to bring their own crew. So to be very clear, in 2025, we will have actual real aid stations. We'll have a total of 8 of them. And we're going to have your typical 100-mile type stuff with snacks and broth and noodles and some hot food and water and hydration and electrolytes and all the things you'd expect in a 100-miler. So just in case you see talk about the previous years not having any aid stations, don't be worried about that. That won't be the case. Also, navigation as well. Stephanie was forced to navigate this course without any course markers, but you won't have to do that in 2025. Also, I want to tell you that there's a total of 8 aid stations. There are 6 of them that accept crew, and there are drop bags available at all of them. Okay, so that is the aid station stuff. Let's now start talking about the actual course. Before we jump into this, have I forgotten anything that we should talk about, Stephanie?
I just want to say the whole reason I ran this was because you created a course. I feel like it's people have like I enjoy creating routes to run, and so I was able to go like run his art, like he created this and like brainstormed it. And so you'll see when we talk about sections like why he picked certain ways, and like while I'm running it, I'm like, he wanted us to see this piece and like feature Butte, and that's something you can't get in all races, and it's one loop. It's like I mean, that was just epic.
Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, your enthusiasm for this makes me so happy, and I'm glad that we get to share that with everybody else. Okay, so the way this will work is in the upper right corner, wherever above me, is where there'll be some photos and videos in a slideshow about the section we're talking about. And then over there is a map that I will be driving myself to give you sort of a detailed view of the course. So the course is a single loop around Butte, Montana. And when you open up the CalTopo link from the website, this is what you'll see. I like to provide each section as a separate file, essentially, or separate track inside of CalTopo that you could load up onto your watch as each individual section. Or you can look at the entire course, and now this is one big long thing. But anyway, if you have any questions about how to use CalTopo, feel free to send me an email and I'll help you out. But we're going to go section by section. And the first section we're going to talk about is the start. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get this the slideshow started, and I do have a little bit of, most of it's going to be silent, but it starts off with sound. So let's go ahead and press play.
So we're killing it. It's a beautiful day. It's going to be a beautiful night. So we'll keep it rolling.
Yeah, you're doing great, buddy.
Thanks, Wes.
All right, we'll see you at the stop. Okay. That's Jaden Bienvenu, who was the first finisher in 2024. He is about 6 miles into the run, I think, at this point. And this is a section that is all road. And so when you leave the start, you're going to be leaving town. It's going to be in the dark when you start. We do start at 4 a.m. because we want to get you through all of these roads as quickly as possible and avoid as many cars as possible and get you out into this beautiful countryside and get you on the dirt with as much sunlight as possible. I think what I'm going to do here is, to help us see this a little bit better, I'm going to go into 3D and let's show this to you in satellite view. I think that might be a bit more interesting. So let's go to global imagery. Okay. So
And I do feel like sunrise was like really early, so it's not like we had headlamps for that long because it was summer.
That's right. But we are going to start an hour earlier than you did. So
Okay.
yeah, and everyone will be required to have headlamps, not only for you to see, but mostly for the cars to see you. So you'll head out of town, and then it'll be light by about the time that you're heading off into the hills. And then eventually you get out here to mile 12, which is the Basin Creek aid station. This is the first aid station. Crew is allowed here. You can see on the slideshow that Jaden got here in an hour and 47 minutes. He was moving pretty quick. And it's a pretty flat section. If we look at the elevation profile of the first section, it says you gain a total of 518 feet over 12 miles. Stephanie, it took you 2 hours and 24 minutes to get to the first aid station.
All the ladies, like pretty much as a pack of 4 stayed at like a 12-minute pace, and like we stayed within feet of each other, the 4 of us. I do think you can't really tell the hills. You got 500 feet of vert, but you can't really feel it because it was. I mean, I felt like it wasn't that bad.
It's practically flat, right?
Yeah.
What did you think about the number of, now knowing of course that you were an hour later than the runners are going to be in 2025? Did you feel like there were very many cars that you were having to interact with?
No, I don't think there was very many cars at all, even at 5 a.m. So they're going to see even less. I do want to mention what I was doing was changing shoes. So if you want to have road shoes for that first section and then switch to trail shoes for the next piece, this would be a spot that you would want to have your crew have shoes for you.
Yeah, I think that's a really great suggestion. That's what I would do too. And in fact, what we're going to do is we're going to have drop bags from Basin Creek Park move to the very last aid station, so that if you want to do road shoes for the first section, those road shoes will move in your drop bag to Molten Reservoir, and then you can finish. The last section also is on road, so you'll be able to finish road shoes. Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's a really good idea. Good thinking.
Thank you very much.
For people that don't want crew, you could do this with drop bags, especially if that drop bag's moving.
That's right. Every aid station will allow drop bags, and that first one will move. But of course, trail runners want to get on dirt, and dirt is what happens immediately after you leave Basin Creek Park. So if I just going to slide around here, I'm going to show you the elevation profile. Let's get the slideshow started here.
Ollie!
You immediately climb out of Basin Creek Park. What was that climb like? Because you pretty much immediately you're going upwards.
I don't think it was that bad. As you can see, I was with Allie. We were just having the best time because I've never met her before, and she's done some crazy stuff. Like she'd done Cocodona 5 weeks earlier, and she was doing this whole thing with like very minimal crew, stopping to see maybe her 3 times. And so I don't remember the climb being that bad. I remember just enjoying my time, and we even got to talking and kind of missed a turn because we were having so much fun. So, and I saw the turn, but I was like, that's not it. But once again, y'all are going to have the course marked. So, I mean, this is going to be, I loved it. And I think this is where the Carolina and JP, I don't know who has their dogs, hopped in on this section, I think.
I think they did. That's right. But you are right. If you look, I don't know if you probably can't see this on the live stream, but I can tell you that the numbers that are on this elevation profile are such that over the course of a mile and a half, the first climb gains 640 feet over a mile and a half. So that's not very, very
I mean,
steep.
that's significant. That is for Texas. We're like, oh my God.
Sure, but it's not like 1,000 feet in a mile. It's not super steep.
Right.
But it's,
Or maybe it's not that long. That's
right,
what,
that
you
long.
know.
And then you have a reprieve, and then you're going to climb about 1,000 feet over 3 miles. And then somewhere pretty soon, and this video is going to come to a stop. By the way, some of these shots are running backwards because this is video I shot the first year when we ran the opposite direction. And I wanted it to be accurate by going the direction that we're running now. So, Stephanie, you made the comment that you missed the turn. And there is, after 6 miles on this section, the course takes a left right here off of this double track ATV trail onto the Continental Divide Trail. And it's on the Continental Divide Trail where you're going to be for the next 63 miles. So here's the turn onto the Continental Divide Trail. And we will have this marked very well in 2025. We might even have a volunteer standing there to make sure that there's no way you miss this turn. And then from here, it's just single track and pretty beautiful, I think. I loved this section. And the trail is nice and not very technical for the most part. So what do you remember about after you got onto the CDT heading towards the Highland Trailhead aid station?
I mean, it was beautiful. And I say we were running at a significant pace. So I felt like it was runnable. Like even with that climb in the beginning, you just got through that piece. And then, I mean, it was beautiful. I think I took so many pictures, especially during that part of the day. Just enjoying the trail in Montana and the trees and yes.
And this section that you see in the video right now, this is a little bit steeper. I think on the elevation profile, it's probably this section here where you gain 500 feet over 2 miles. But towards the end, it gets a little bit steep. On the profile, there's a little bit here where it goes up. But and then after that, it levels off. And then there's a nice long section of about 3 miles that's just very, very runnable as it cruises along through here.
Yes.
What I love about this section is there's some really beautiful meadows. Obviously, there's lots and lots of trees, but there's views occasionally between the trees. But then there's also little green meadows that you'll go past. It's just absolutely a lovely introduction. And I think there's also some of these photos show a lot of trees that have been down along the side. The Forest Service has done a great job the last year or two cutting out some of these trees. So hopefully we'll have, this video is from 2023 where I had to go underneath that tree. But in 2024, I think you guys had barely any trees that you had to worry about.
Right. I remember, yeah.
Right.
That picture did we cross that or was that where I was lost?
Yeah, photo was yours. And then yeah. So you guys crossed through this meadow on that little boardwalk before you finally get the last.
Oh my goodness.
bit.
And no filter. Like you could take pictures, no filter. And it was just like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. The lighting, because it was just beautiful.
Yeah, I love this whole thing is really great. And so this section on the Continental Divide Trail, it brings you into mile 25, the Highland Trailhead. This is the second aid station, and also crew is allowed here. This is the farthest drive for crew. It's about 45 minutes, I think, for the crew to drive out to this aid station. But once at this spot, the crew is going to have some really great views. In fact, if I sort of turn the map around and look off to the east, I may not be able to tilt enough, but there's mountains out there in the distance that they can enjoy. There's mountains off. In fact, on the slideshow now, you can see that's Red Mountain, which is over here to the left of the aid station. It's just a really, really pretty area. And what you're seeing now in the slideshow is this last meadow that leads right into the trailhead where we're going to have our aid station set up.
I want to say something about how you said it was the furthest aid station. This is you're not going to get a looped course where you can plant crew in the middle of Butte, Montana at an Airbnb and they can go back to the Airbnb between crewing you. Because I want to say our Airbnb was like 15 minutes from all the sections, and it was just amazing because you didn't feel like you were wasting your crew's time because they could go back and chill, which you're not going to get that at other races, not with the loop or point to point. Like, it doesn't work so peacefully.
Yeah, that's right. It's really there's a lot of convenience, and everything's pretty close to get to. It doesn't take very long to get to most of the places. Oh, I think you're going to say something really great here about how much you love it.
I needed to just like catch my breath. Like it was, I needed to talk to God, ate a snack. Took lots
Talk to God.
Oh, I think you were saying something that I took a lot of pictures because it was so pretty.
Well, and because we got lost, and then we were like making up time, but it was runnable. You know what I mean? And so I was like, and she is an amazing runner. So I was like, I need you to take off. I need to have a minute by myself and just sit with my feelings. So yeah, lots of pictures.
Yeah. All right. So at Highland Pass, you can get yourself all sorted out. And then let's take a look at the next section. You're going to head from Highland Trailhead to Pipestone Pass. Let's see what's going on with this map. There we go. Let's go back to this one. This is a 12-ish mile section, right? Yeah, 12 exactly. 12-mile section. And this, I think this section continues the runability at a high level. It starts off with what will feel like a pretty steep climb. And after about a half a mile, you kind of cruise out of the aid station. And I'm going to show you this climb here just so you can see. It feels significant, but it only climbs 500 feet over a mile. So it's steep, but it's not super, super steep. But once you get over that little hump right there, then it's very runnable for quite a lot of miles. And you're just kind of winding in and out of these trees along the forest. And as you do, there's times when you'll see mountains off to the side. Eventually, you'll see little peaks of Butte to the north. In fact, from the way that this map is currently oriented, Butte is north of us, so straight up. And then on the other direction is this Red Mountain, this beautiful mountain here. So as you're coming along the course, you'll be able to see Red Mountain off on the right-hand side. And I think this section has, even though it has some climbs here and there, it's pretty smooth. Were you guys able to move pretty quick through here?
Yes. So at this point, I was by myself, and this is the moment I became a mountain runner because I was like flying. Well, to me, I was flying down those hills. And I say it in the podcast, but I was like, I didn't want to look at what pace I was running because in my head, I was like doing 8-minute miles. I was like flying. I think I even took a picture and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm living my best life. The picture didn't turn out. I thought I was looking like confident, but I was not looking so confident in the picture. But it was like, I was like, I want to come out and do this. Like, you're able, it was not technical. So yes, you have some climbing and yes, you're going downhill and it's steep, but it's runnable. And so you can get that, anybody that loves doing downhills, like you can get that feeling in this section where you're just like, this is what I want to do. This is what you come out here for.
Here's a little bit of a view of some of the rocks that are happening here and there. It's not super, super technical, but there are definitely some rocky sections along the way. And then, as you can see here on the map, this is basically what the slideshow is showing, is this part of the course here where you're going across these meadows. And I love this part because you have Red Mountain off to your right, and then as you look to the left, like in this photo, that's looking towards Butte. So you can actually see Butte in the distance. And there's even we'll talk about Our Lady of the Rockies statue. You can even see the statue from mile 59 from that spot too. So this section, it's just really, really lovely through here as you're coming across this hillside.
I love that about big, huge loops is like when you can run something and see like we've done a loop in Texas, but you see parts of it and then you run, and by the end of the day, you're like, I was on the other side earlier this morning. So
yeah, that's one of the neat things about this loop is the way that it is created is you can often see where you're going, and then when you get there, you can turn around and look back and see where you've been.
Yes.
This loop allows you to sort of always have a little bit of a sense of where you are relative to Butte, and as well, and when you're on the course, looking, like I said, forward or backwards, you sort of see what's ahead of you and what's behind you. So I particularly love that part. It makes it. I mean, 100 miles is a long ways, but it starts to feel a little bit more. You can wrap your head around it in that way.
And an accomplishment. You feel like it's something you can't get on a little tiny looped course.
Yeah, that's right. All right, let's move down to let's gonna go down a little bit here. What this course, this section, eventually, as you see on the course elevation profile, starting at mile 6-ish. Look, basically the second half of this section is mostly all downhill, so you get some really nice running through here as you're heading towards the Pipestone Pass aid station. Now, this is the first aid station where crew is not allowed. And so let's go ahead, and I think that we're almost done with these slides. I thought I had made it so I could advance to the next one I think there we go. One of the things I love about this course is these gorgeous granite rocks that you're often running past. It reminds me of the Tahoe 200 course, actually.
Oh my goodness. Yes, and that's how I felt too, because I had just been at Tahoe like 2 weeks earlier, and I was like, oh my goodness, Tahoe vibes in Montana.
Yep, that's right. And you're not very dissimilar in terms of elevation either. This is a lot of this course is above 6,500 feet, and so that's not very different from the high desert of Tahoe. So yeah, you get some of the similar rocks, but
smooth trails.
But the trails are mostly smooth. It's really quite great. So yeah, I love this flowy descent that comes into Pipestone Pass. It's just really, really beautiful. I first explored this section in 2016 on a mountain bike when I was injured from running, and I fell in love with this. And I even have a video that I had sent to Leah, my wife now. At the time we had just started dating, but I sent her a video saying, this place is really beautiful. I can't wait to run around here someday. Of course, now here we are 8 some years later, and hopefully a lot of people are going to be running around here because this is such a beautiful, beautiful trail. The Continental Divide Trail is absolutely gorgeous, and we're so lucky to have it as a resource. All right, let's get down to the next section. I'm gonna escape out of here because I want to. Let's play this. Eventually, the trail is going to. Look at me. Look at me messing up in real time. All right. Well, eventually we make it here to the Pipestone Pass trailhead, and this is the third aid station. And like I said, this is a not crew accessible aid station just because of the size of the parking is pretty small. So let's move on to the next section, the Pipestone Pass to Homestake Pass, and this has a total elevation gain of 1,500 feet over 9.8 miles, and this section is again pretty runnable, and in fact there's even a local race, a 14K, that uses this as their course. So some people run this pretty quick. I'm going to press play here. When you leave, you'll cross the highway here and then head up back onto the trails. And again, this trail is going to be just really super smooth. You got this beautiful little light green brush along the sides, but it's so pretty. And the climb is not super steep. It's just kind of gradual as you work your way up and over through here, and lots of green.
This is what I loved about these last two sections. So you have your climb, you get to the top, and then you're gonna just make your way down. So you're not making good time going up, but then going down, you get to make up some time till the next one.
That's right, absolutely. Yeah, because even some of the climbs aren't super steep, so it's not like you're going to be really challenged by it, but maybe you won't be running up them. I do think I remember some of this section that we're showing now in the video. I was definitely hiking, but it's not very technical, which makes it really nice.
Right.
There is a couple of sections like here. There's got a decent amount of climbing, so we have some switchbacks. But then you get up to the top, and then it's mostly downhill with a couple small, a little bit of a gain, but it's just so runnable, and then views off to the sides, of course. It's just really a gorgeous part of the trail.
I kept telling Shashi, I was like, if we're doing switchbacks, we're climbing way too steep to go straight up. That means it's bad if we're doing switchbacks.
Yeah, here we go. Maybe this is part of the video showing a pretty decent climb. At least it looks steep in the video.
Yeah.
But yeah, this Pipestone Pass to Homestake Pass section is just really, really, really great. Little peekaboo view there. And eventually you get yourself down to the highway. And I'm surprised I can't make these things play the way I wanted them to. Let's get here. So you get off the trail.
Oh my goodness! I
remember
remember trying to get through. I remember trying to get through that gate, and I was like, he gave me a puzzle at mile 4, because I was miles ahead because I lost some in the beginning. I was like, at mile 49, you're wanting me to do a puzzle to get through this gate. I was ready to climb over it until a biker went through, and then I was like, oh, that's how you do it.
We'll make sure the gate's really easy to get through. Maybe we'll keep it open, or just we won't lock it up for anybody. And so you cross over the highway. There's a really short road section here, which brings you to the Homestake Pass trailhead, which is, I guess, the 4th aid station now along the course. And of course, your crew will be here waiting for you. And this is a pretty.
And this is where you.
Go ahead.
This is where you can pick up a pacer.
That's right.
I'm assuming that's where you're going to put the.
That's right. This is where the first place you can pick up a pacer, but it's also really important to sort of, I guess, get yourself ready, because
Absolutely.
This is the start of the crux of the course. Until now, you've done a couple of really flowy, runnable sections. Obviously, you had some road, but when you leave Homestake Pass, you essentially have an 8-mile climb. There's a little bit of a reprieve here at mile 2.3. It's not super, super steep, but it's just it climbs and climbs and climbs all the way to mile 8. And so it's pretty tiring. So you're going to want to leave home. You want to really make sure you fuel up at Homestake Pass to get ready for this section. In fact, I should be showing slides from Homestake Pass. There we go.
And time of day. So if you're a faster runner, you'll still be on it. But I remember, so we started an hour after what y'all are going to do. And I remember it was like going into the night, because that's the other thing. You're not going to see crew for a little bit, because how long is this section?
This section to Our Lady of the Rockies is 12 miles.
Okay, well, it felt like 20.
Right.
Because you climbed for 8 miles. And I remember going into the night. So it's like, you're changing clothes, making sure you're fueled, and it was going to be a rough, it was rough. That one was rough because there was no like downhill reprieve, or not like the other two that had these beautiful and you're at night. So it'll be more challenging because of that as well.
Yeah, that's right. So the fastest runners will probably get to Our Lady mile 59 while it's still light. By switching in an hour later, a lot runners will get to there before it gets dark. I think you just barely missed the sunset when you came in. I think the people an hour ahead of you were still in the light.
I got the best videos. You're right. I hit sunset at the top. Oh, and it was beautiful. Yeah. But I also liked being at Our Lady of the Rockies at night, because we got to see her lit up, and which you get to see her lit up all over the trail. But
so this section, eventually the trail, you hit the top here, and then there's this switchbacky section here which has a little bit of a descent. And what's neat here is that you're able to, this ridge is actually facing town. So if I turn the map around, you can see Butte back there. So as you're coming down towards Our Lady of the Rockies and this next aid station, you're going to be seeing the city below. And then, eventually you will reach Our Lady of the Rockies, and the videos will catch up with us. So you had a pacer that came with you, right, on this section?
Right. So are you going to have do crew have access to Lady of the Rockies?
No, the crew cannot go to the aid station at mile 59. So any any pacers that join you out of Homestake Pass will have to go all the way to Nez Perce, which is the next aid station after Our Lady. So it's a total of 28.7 miles that pacer has to be able to go.
Which my pacer was not a mountain runner, and he did fine with it. And it goes back to, you want to make sure you get right before you start this section, because you're going to have 2 legs without seeing crew. But it was my hardest, but my favorite, you know what I mean, part, because going to see Lady of the Rockies is priceless. Like, that's we were looking up stats, and it's the 4th tallest statue in the U.S. So that's pretty impressive that you get it in your race.
It's a 90-foot tall statue, and we'll get some pictures of it when we get to the next thing. So we're going to cruise along here. Okay, this is the thing I was trying to show. This is where you are able to see, actually in this, you can actually see Our Lady of the Rockies on top of the ridge there as we're starting to come close. And we will be showing this the next, okay, here we come. So this section here is one of the tougher climbs on the course. You actually get off the Continental Divide Trail, and then, let's go to the next video. There we go. So you're going to get off the CDT just enough to do this switchbacky climb. You climb 300 feet over a third of a mile, so it's super steep. But then you get up to the top. The aid station is located right here at the top of the climb. But then before you actually stop, you're going to go out to the viewpoint so that you can enjoy the view off the top and see the statue, and then you'll come back to the actual aid station. So here, if you look at the video, this is where I'm coming up and nearly to the top, and it's pretty...
And you have a little bit of a scramble.
Yeah, it's a pretty gnarly section, but it's kind of worth it, I think, for what you get when you get to the top.
Absolutely worth it. And there's heated bathrooms up there.
That's really, you loved that, didn't you?
Yes, the bathrooms were heated because, when I got up there, it was cold.
Real Elvish Rope, I thank you for your question. I do see it. We'll be doing some question and answering at the end, so I'll make sure I include that. So here in the video, you can see Allie has arrived just around sunset, so it's still a little bit light. And now this is a separate piece of video, but this is now walking out to see Our Lady of the Rockies and to see the viewpoint.
Oh my goodness.
And it's
this was one of my favorite parts.
One of the things that we did was we walked the runners out there. We sort of did a little bit of an escort service, and maybe that's not the right word, but I walked with you out to the viewpoint, and that was really fun to be able to do that. So this is standing beneath. We took a couple pictures. It's a really special place, and the public can't just go up here. The public can visit Our Lady by taking a tour, but it's kind of a whole thing. And so this is real special that they're allowing us to have an aid station up here. But because of it being private and all this, that's why there's no crew. The access to Our Lady via the road is pretty gnarly, actually. So there's no crew accessibility up here. And so, yeah, this.
So you have to race it or volunteer if you want to be a part.
That's right. Yeah.
I want to come volunteer and give all the tours let me show you Our Lady of the Rockies.
Yeah, I want you to be the tour guide. Okay, so you got to Our Lady, and now you're really happy to be there. It's been 12 miles with a lot of climbing, but you still have the biggest section ahead of you. And so that's what's going to be next. And now most of you will hit this in the dark. Oh, but before that, 16 and a half miles, and there are a number of good water sources along this section. So if you don't want to carry, 16 and a half miles worth of water from Our Lady, there's a really, really good, I have them marked on the map in Caltopo where the water stops are, these blue dots. And this last blue dot, I think, is 6 miles into the section. So you can totally refill up on all your water there. And so we recommend what is it called? The catadine? I don't know how to say that word. the bee-free water filter. That's what I use. Absolutely love it. And so this is what I recommend. QR code.
And I actually bought it
Yeah,
as
it
well.
work for you. Did you actually do any
I
water
didn't.
refilling back there?
I didn't need to, because that's the other thing. It's going to be at night, and I want to say they said it got down to like 27 degrees, which coming from Texas, like it was a whole nother like, you know, I was not. I don't want to say I was not prepared. I was never cold, but it's in the middle of the summer, so I was, heat trained for sure at that point.
Yeah, at the end of June in Montana, the temperatures can vary quite wildly. It's possible that there could even be rain or snow. The first year we did have a storm in the middle of the night that had some thunder and a little bit of snow, if I recall, but it didn't stick. We had a little bit of rain. I think you guys had pretty decent weather.
Oh, I felt like we had perfect weather.
Yeah. And so when let me show the profile for Our Lady to Nez Perce. Here at about mile 6 is where that 6.5-ish is where the last climb starts. So you can get water there. And then you got about a 2.5 mile climb to the highest point on the course, which is at 8,400 feet. And then it's the last 7 miles are pretty much all downhill. And I think I remember you saying, Stephanie, that this was a pretty technical section. Do you remember that?
I don't know if it was technical or I was tired, but I remember it was slow going downhill, and it was like, we're never going to end, and then another switchback. It's never going to, like, and that was, switchbacks are a sign that it's too steep to go straight down.
That's right.
But I was also so behind schedule, and it was like, I kept taking breaks, and let's sit on this rock, and Shashi just kept saying, take your time. So I want to throw this in there. So I am not a mountain runner, and I was not intimidated by this race because I knew I had time. So I was never felt pressured. So this is where it's inclusive to people that want to touch, mountain running, get into it. This is a race that the cutoff is not because you need that much time, but it's because it's preparing, like people can come run the mountains. I'm a flatlander, 100% flatlander. I was able to come and finish.
Yeah, that's right. The 40-hour cutoff is not because it's so difficult that you're going to need them all. We just want to be able to be welcoming and inclusive and give people a chance to try something and not be so stressed out about cutoffs the entire time.
Right.
So yeah, the descent on here is really nice. You lose 2,000 feet over the 7 miles, and so it's not not a steep descent, but it can definitely be the kind of thing where if you want to run downhill, you could sort of let the hill do some of the work for you. The technicality of the section isn't super high. There are some rocks and some roots, but for the most part, this section has some really nice runnable bits. But it's the most.
I feel like that was it. It wasn't that it was so hard, but it was that I had talked Shashi up on how fun running downhill is, and then I was like, I'm not running downhill at this point.
Yeah. So this is by far the most remote and the longest section of the course and the most remote section of the course. As I sort of pull back here so that you can see from Our Lady all the way along here to Nez Perce, that's, like I said, 16.5 miles. You're pretty far back. There's sections in some of here you won't have any cell service, and so just stay on course. I don't think there are maybe 2 or 3 places along the section of the entire course here where you could make a wrong turn. We will have course markings, of course, to help you along with that, but for the most part, it's just you staying on the Continental Divide Trail, just following the course markers of the CDT, and you'll be great.
Yeah, I don't remember having any navigation issues there, or stopping and looking at navigation or anything.
Okay, so Nez Perce is, you'll probably want to sit here for a minute and regroup. After the last 2 sections, you might be a bit tired. And I do want to just make a quick comment about crewing at Nez Perce. There's a red dot here, which is indicating where crew will park. There's nowhere at all for crew to park at the aid station. So crew's going to park 0.7 miles away and walk to the aid station if they want. But there's also hardly any cell service at the parking location. So the crew may not be able to track runners. We will have, I haven't mentioned this, we will have track leaders, satellite-based tracking. But of course, the crew needs internet in order to see where you are. So near the interstate, we've got a spot where the crew will stage before they go to you. So when you're running to Nez Perce, your crew is going to first come park here in this like sort of a maintenance lot. And then they will, when they see that you're nearing the aid station, like let's say you're looking to be an hour away from Nez Perce, then they can leave the staging area and then they can go park at the designated crew spot and then walk to meet you at the aid station.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
So that's a good plan, especially when you're not going to have service at the parking lot.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So then this next section it's a nice reprieve, I think, because let's look at the elevation profile of Nez Perce to Conda. It's a total of 5.7 miles. This elevation profile is wildly exaggerated. This climb is 400 feet over almost 3 miles, and it starts off being dirt road, and then it becomes paved road. So it's a nice little break from everything you've done until this point.
And you're not the same person that was going into the night. So now it's daylight. You're a mountain runner. You know, you have gone and seen Our Lady of the Rockies. And so this is where you'd probably switch your pacer at this point, because your pacer's now been with you for 28 miles. It's a morning. It's going to change everything. I remember at this point, I was running again, and they thought I was, out of the game. And I ran, and there's a picture of me running this morning.
Oh my God. I love it. So there was a sunrise photo that you took along this roadway. So for you, the sun was just coming up as you were making this traverse here.
Yes.
So then you climb. The video is now kind of showing the climb, this 400 foot over 3 mile climb that goes up into the trees. The road then takes you past some meadows and then eventually ends here at the Conda Trailhead aid station. Now, the crews will be driving from Nez Perce to Conda. So this is a part of the course where everyone needs to cooperate and work together, and the crews need to be really careful of the runners because the road is the course. And this is also the CDT. The Continental Divide Trail is actually on this road. So this will bring you to the Conda Trailhead, which is now the second to last aid station. So, all the super hard work is behind you, but you're not entirely done. In fact, I think if I remember right, Stephanie, you thought you were totally done at this point, right?
Wait, before this section, I thought I was done with the climbing, and I don't know why I thought that. I did not look at the course preview, I guess, close enough. And then that last climb was on road of that last section, and so it was a hike, but then I have told myself at this point there's no more climbing, and so I love putting the segments on your watch versus the whole thing. So I load this segment, and it says 3 miles, 1,200 feet up, and I was like, who lied to you? Me. I lied to myself. So be prepared. It is a climb. This is the other moment that changed me.
Yeah, because you end up with this 3 mile climb with almost 1,200 feet total. But there is one section just before you finally top out at this meadow where there's some pretty big, it's a pretty big climb, if I remember right. I think there's a picture you took of the rocks.
Right. Too. And it's rocky. So it's one of those things like you have to be careful where you're putting your poles. And I mean, we're talking less than a mile. The section that I'm talking about that took me out was less than a mile. And for me, it was heat of the day. So I would take just a few steps and have to rest. Take a few steps and rest. I sat down and cried. There's no cell service. Nobody's coming to get you. And that's when I had to figure out how am I going to get myself up half a mile. I want to say it was half a mile left that I was crying over. But I wasn't going down. I knew that because I had just climbed for 3 miles. I was like, I'm not going down. But then when you get to the top, So is this the climb?
That's the
It
climb. That
doesn't look
rocky thing is the climb. That's right.
doesn't look that steep, but if you count how steep it was with that technical, that was it. That's the photo.
That's your
And
photo.
and once again, it doesn't look that steep, but it was like I was hiding under that little shade. But when you get to the top, that view right there, and that's where I ate something, and I had cell phone service, so I called and cried to everyone, and it was just like, and they're like, "You're gonna be fine." I was like, "I know, because I'm already made it up the hill, so of course, I'm fine at this point." But just that view, and I want to say when I went, there was flowers up there. I don't know if I'm making that up, but I had this, vision of just this beautiful meadow and just eating a snack, and I just climbed this huge mountain again. And so, yes. And I didn't even know what was ahead.
That's right.
So I was taking another break for a snack. And then, yes.
Now this next section is this what you see on the trail or on the video now. This is a part of the Molten cross country ski area. So you get onto cross country ski trails, and there are some parts where there are an actual trail, like you see here, or ATV tracks, some single tracks. But there's also some parts that are kind of grassy, where you're on the trail, but you don't necessarily see it. And of course, Stephanie didn't have the advantage of having any course markers through this part.
And I think it would be I'd feel completely different about it if there was course markers.
Yeah, absolutely right. Because this section is complicated if you don't have any course marking. But it will be awesome with course marking. And actually, one of the nice things is I got GPX files from the runners this year. And so I could see where, with no course markings, I could see where you guys made mistakes and where you made wrong turns.
You could.
So that'll help us when we do course marking. Make sure we really mark those specific spots.
But I think Shashi said it was like mile 89 point something on the tracker that we would all freeze, until we made it out.
Yeah. This section is really beautiful through here. There's a couple nice little views. But yeah, it's just in this little, I don't know, what is this section? This section is 8.5 miles. Eventually you come out of the single tracks, and we will get onto the roadway. So there's a 1 kilometer dirt road, which you'll get onto, which will actually take you to the last aid station. So we should be, let's finish up these videos here. Play. Yeah, here we are. So now we're getting back onto the road at this point. And then, like I said, 1 kilometer of downhill road to get to the last aid station, the Molten Reservoir aid station. Did your crew meet you at Molten Reservoir?
They did.
Yeah.
And I was taking so long, they wanted to come up the trail, and I was like, no, you will not find me. Like, I can only be responsible for one person right now. I will see you. Stay planted. I will come find you.
Yeah, cool. So this is where the last aid station is going to be, here at this parking lot. Crew is allowed here. Crews can have to be really careful as they're driving here, because the roadway to get to the aid station is the course out of here. So let's go ahead and look at the last section. So Molten Reservoir to the finish is just over, well, I guess it's 10.2 miles. It starts off being dirt road, and then it becomes paved road, and then it becomes paved trail, and then finally road again. And this section, I just love the storytelling of this section. I'm going to spin this around here and kind of follow it down. You start off on this road being, in the countryside, but then the road starts to go alongside the tailings pond of the mining operation. And so you start to see that as you're coming into town. And then the trail comes along over to the edge of the mining operation. And you remember, Stephanie, there was the mining memorial to the granite speculator mine. There was a terrible tragedy. And then you get on the trail, the rails to trail, pardon me. Let's get rid of that. And then you follow this winding trail which is paved through town, past a bunch of mines, and then eventually let's see, there's another, this photo you see there is of the Anselmo mine, which is what you see on the map right now. Jaden, I took a picture of Jaden and his mom there. And then you take a left here at the Montana Tech University or college, and then you take a left onto Park Street, and that's the last 1.75 miles, which brings you back
It's all downhill
to the finish line. Yeah.
Okay, so real quick, the what was the trail called that went through the mines?
The trail, I believe, is called well, there's a couple different names. The name is the B.A.&P Hill Trail, but I think you saw a sign that said the Copper Way.
Okay, so my suggestion is we went the day before and we checked out that trail not knowing it was a part of the course. I mean, because it's a scenic route. So if you're bringing crew or family, like that was what was so epic is like, here we are. And I'm like, this is why we came for, and we took so many pictures. Or when you're done with the race, the next day, come out, do a recovery walk up, in that area and show off your crew and family, show off the sightseeing. Like you took us right by all the places that you would go if you were sightseeing. And when I was running through there were people out there just walking, and we were telling them I was running 100 miles, and everyone was so friendly, like cheering me on, like, oh my goodness. I feel like that was in Butte. Everyone, even like we saw maybe 2 or 3 cars in the morning on that one road section. Everyone was so friendly. And then I was like, oh, they must be a part of the race. No, there's 10 of us running. They were not anybody's crew. Like the Butte people are just friendly. Like Texas were like fake friendly. But like the people in Butte were like genuinely nice. And I was just like, oh my goodness, I love it.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
Definitely this is the section, this last finisher section is where you want to take your crew so that they can see that part of you for sure.
That's a really, really, really good suggestion. And you might be wondering what this giant green thing is on the map. This is a huge open pit mine that they stopped mining many years ago, and it filled up with water. You can learn all about it, but I will tell you that the public viewing stand for the Berkeley pit is right here, which is across the street from our start and finish line. So as your crew is waiting for you, or even after you finish, you can go visit that visitor tourist spot. It's really part of the interesting history of Butte and its mining heritage.
And on those walkways, they have historical markers and stuff, but the views, just even that little like walkway, like the running down into the city, and you can see all the mines, that are close. I want to say we run by a few of them, not just one of them, but
oh yeah, there's quite a few mines that we run through.
Yeah,
that's right.
And you see where the name from the race came from.
That's right.
Full circle.
So that's the whole course. I want to talk a little bit about some of the details. One thing I wanted to share. Let's go to the next slide, because one of the things we talk a little bit about is the 40-hour cutoff. We talked earlier about how you don't necessarily need all the 40 hours. So these are the finish times of the runners in 2024. Jaden finished first, and he could have finished probably a whole hour sooner had he been able to. He ended up having some pretty bad chafing at the end that really slowed him down. But of course, the Montana
navigation.
That's right, the
navigation cost us trying to figure out where to go.
Yeah, and the runner who finished, the last runner, just under 40 hours. It was kind of his plan to do it in just about 40 hours. He was kind of going along, mostly hiking, so he was going to be using most of the time on purpose. Okay, we're going to get to one more summary slide, then we'll get into answering the questions. One more summary slide. There we go. So 100 miles is a single loop. There's 9 segments. Crew is accessible. Crew can go to 6 of the aid stations, and all of the aid stations will have drop bags. And as I mentioned, the drop bag for aid station 1 at Basin Creek Park will move to be to the last aid station, so that you can have road shoes for the first and last sections easily for you. 40-hour cutoff, 14,400 feet total gain, which isn't a giant amount, but you are above 6,500 feet most of the time, and you go as high as 8,400 feet.
And that's all in the 78 miles in the middle.
That's right.
It's not in the first section and it's not in the last section. So that's where it's like you get a little of everything.
That's right. If we bring up the elevation profile for the entire course, I'll make it larger on screen here. You can see that the elevation doesn't really start till mile 12. And then, towards the end, it's just all downhill. So the climbing, like you say, Stephanie, is really sort of compressed into that middle 78 miles. Oh, actually, I'm not showing that. So anyway, you take my word for it.
Yes.
And then 63 miles of the CDT. And then some people have asked me about the surface stats. So you can have about 70 miles of dirt. And then there's 22 miles of paved road and that paved trail that we were talking about. And then 7.8 miles of dirt road. So that's all of the stats. Let's talk about some questions. Okay. So let's start off with I think this is a really great question from Marathon 007, Stephanie. I'll think this will be a good one for you to answer. Would you say this is an intermediate race, an advanced race? What's the level of this?
Okay, so I'm going to definitely say intermediate. I'm going to say they're not advanced because there's stuff out there that I haven't seen, but there are like 400 feet climbing for like 3 miles, or the one section that there's 8 miles straight climbing. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's the hardest, but it's definitely a good entryway, especially into people that don't run mountains. And it's also, I want to say you start at like 5,300 feet of
something like that. That's right.
So you're not starting too high, but you are getting a lot of high altitude. So that's another part that gives you a good experience. I want to say you go up to almost 9,000.
Yeah, 8,400 feet is the highest point after Our Lady.
Well, we're going to round to 9,000.
That's right. Yep,
Making right. Better story.
So yeah, there you go. I remember when we ran it the first year. Let's see, 3 of us were from Washington State, 2 were from Montana, if I remember, and the 4. Why can't I remember? Oh yeah, the 4th was from. The 6th was from Wisconsin. Pretty much all of us when we finished, we were like, "There's no way that it was only." In the first year, we had 16,000 feet of climbing. And we're like, there's no way there's only 16,000 feet. Like, it felt harder than that. Somehow it felt harder than it looked on paper. And so I think that's
squished.
Right, it's because it's squished.
Because
and also because you're at elevation, I think, more of the time. So so I think intermediate's probably a good thing to think about it in terms of your choices there, intermediate or advanced. All right, Real Elvish Rope asks us, any chance this could eventually be a Western States qualifier? Hey, well, I'll tell you what, I don't know at this point. This is our first year with a commercial event. We've got a long way to go before we're there, but that'd be pretty sweet, wouldn't it? Yeah, we'll see. I don't have a good answer except just to say that. There was a question I don't have to put it on the screen. Was asked, why are we starting at 4 a.m.? And so we started at 5 a.m. last year with Stephanie. In 2025, we're starting at 4 a.m. because we want to give you even more daylight on the trails and just get you out of town even faster. The first part of the course is just getting you out of town. And so we don't want to burn daylight on that. And so starting at 4 a.m. just to get you out of town, you will be to the first aid station after sunrise, unless you're, I think even if you're going, even the first runners will still get there as the sun's coming up. But yeah, that's the reason why we're starting so early. And with the 40-hour cutoff, that means that you need to be finished by 8 p.m. on the Saturday. There was a friend asked regarding the 40-hour cutoff and the 14,000 feet of gain. The question was, is this a really, really difficult race? Is that why there's a 40-hour cutoff? The answer is no, we just want to be welcoming and inclusive. So I think my friend summarized it saying it's tough but doable. And I think that would be a good way of thinking about it.
And I think you don't stress about the cutoff. Like, I finished in under 36, but if I would have known that 36 was the cutoff, then it would have just added another layer into stressing me out.
Yeah, good. And the last question we had was how many runners? And so we have 100 spots in this race. We're permitted for up to 100. As of, well, I don't know where we're at this moment, but earlier today we were at 36 runners. So I'm really grateful to all the 36 people who registered in the first day. And so that was
That's
pretty cool.
good to know, because that means it could sell out if there's only 100 spots. I mean, no pressure, but
We sure would love it if we were able to sell this out, just because we want to have as many people enjoy this as possible. And it would be really great. Marathon did ask another question here. With the elevation, are there traditionally afternoon showers or lightning? And the answer is yes, there can be. The weather is very volatile in Butte at the end of June. The last couple of years, there were often some pretty interesting, sometimes surprisingly strong thunder showers that would come in, dump a bunch of stuff, and then all of a sudden be over. So it is very possible. So be prepared just about for anything. But the last couple of years during this event, we have had at most just thunder and lightning and maybe just a little bit falling on us. So hopefully we don't end up with a lot of precipitation, but it is certainly possible. So something to be prepared for sure. Okay. I think that's my last slide. So I think we can wrap this thing up. Stephanie, thank you so much for coming on
you're welcome.
and sharing your experience with this course. And really, I'm just so grateful to you for running the Fat Ass. I'm hoping you'll be able to come volunteer.
Oh, yeah, I was telling Leah, I was like, as long as my race schedule works out, I'm going to be there for sure.
Good. Well, so everyone, please come sign up for the Copper Kings 100. Come meet me. Come meet Stephanie. Come run a wonderful new event in Butte, Montana. Be a part of history. And go to copperkings100.com to learn more. And of course, ask us any questions, and we're here for you. So thanks a lot for great swag.
The hoodie.
You can get shirts today on the website. So thank you all so much. Really appreciate you for taking the time to watch this, and let us know if you have any questions. All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Stephanie. Appreciate you.
Bye.